If McDonald's stops selling burgers and chicken McNuggets, they're going to have a real problem. If Lowe's and Home Depot suddenly decide their job is to sell you only floral arrangements, well, they probably need to be arraigned for the misuse of their company assets. But what about Disney? Folks, we're here to tell you that Disney seems to have lost utter connection with their consumers. The audience, obviously, has exited the building, and nobody seems to be holding Disney to account, well, except for us, and except in this video, and we'll show you how Disney has lost the magic. Hello, folks. Welcome back. It's tragic. Disney lost the magic, but we know how to find it. It's inside each of you out there, right, folks? It's the mainstream middle. It's the sensible center. It's the vast, broad majority of consumers who just want Disney to go back to traditional storytelling and universal truths. That's that simple. It's just like that. Do it, Disney. Do it. Today, we're going to show you why Disney isn't doing it, and we'll show you the repercussions of Disney not doing it. And if you're one of those folks out there who maybe you don't quite get what the kerfuffle is about Disney and why people are mad and all of that, well, stick around. By the end of this video, you will come to see, oh, there's a very simple rationale behind all this. And it's not crazies, it's not fringe, it's just average, everyday folks who have turned away from the once beloved company. Let's get into it right now.
The people who say, oh, well, the audience is fatigued by all this superhero stuff, that's the problem. We are sitting here with a representative of the disproof of that. Because for every one of these comic and game companies that fails because of their BS, there's Rippaverse saying, if you do it right, if you build it, they will come because it's quality. And I applaud that, truly.
Yep. Yes. And Andrew, before we get into the Paramount story, which is where Disney will be if they tank their theme parks, and I mean it, before we get into the Paramount story, tell us what the other side of this looks like. Tell us about the land of milk and honey. Tell us about how things are going for content creators that don't go woke and broke. Tell us about the Rippaverse.
Well, it's less land of milk and honey and more just like, hey, I don't know, don't shoot yourself in the foot. DC and Marvel left the door open for the Rippaverse. They left the door open for all of these other indie creators out there in the indie comics scene that are putting out good work, or at least showing an effort with an attempt of trying to put out good work. And audiences are receptive to that. All it takes is for you to have something that's remotely interesting to an audience that doesn't insult them, and they'll be at minimum willing to give you a shot. A perfect example of this is, look, fans of things who truly love a thing, whether it's comic books, whether it's video games, whatever it is, people will be very forgiving as long as you're showing a good faith effort. Or at least that's the impression that they get. Look at Star Wars. When the first season of The Mandalorian came out, mainstream access media was saying Star Wars fans aren't arguing over Mandalorian, and it's weird. Well, it actually wasn't weird because they were just putting out something that was mostly enjoyable for most Star Wars fans. Obviously, you still had the people that didn't like it, and that's fine. But what they were doing was they had something that was still, regardless of how marginal of an improvement it was, it still felt like an improvement over the crap that they had put out in theaters for the years leading up to that. Comic book fans are going to be the same way. DC and Marvel decided to just leave the door open and create this opportunity, this vacuum. And well, that vacuum's got to get filled because comic book fans still want to read comic books. Sometimes you're going to make something that hits and lands. Other times you're going to miss. And that's fine. That's just part of the process. And not everything is going to appeal to every single member of your desired audience. But that's what we're trying to do over the Rippaverse. And that's what a lot of people in the indie comic scene are doing right now to varying degrees of success. But they're having that success in large part because DC and Marvel decide to not just take their foot off the gas, they really just decide to drive over a cliff. And so we're just sitting over here like, okay, all right, we'll try and fill that void. We'll try and fill that vacuum.
You're making content for the audience. They're making content to impress their friends.
Correct. If you are making content to impress your peers or to impress paid critics or anything like that, you are, by definition, not going to be making something for your audience, because we see it all the time when we look at, you know, audience reviews versus critic reviews of films. There's usually some level of disparity between the two, right? Well, whose money do you care about? The millions potentially of people who want to consume this thing, or the maybe hundreds of critics who half of them are getting free copies of your stuff to review anyway, and so you're not getting their money to begin with? Which of those audiences should you be striving to please? Which of them should you be trying to convince them to give you their hard-earned dollar?
In the old days, Andrew, what we would say is stop writing for writers, because that's what was happening. They were writing for writers. Right now, that's the journalism as a whole, the lamestream media. That's all they do. They write for each other. When it comes to Hollywood or any of these other creative endeavors, they're writing for a 15-block area in Hollywood. That's it. You're writing for 15 blocks. You're not writing for the country. You're not writing for the globe. I mean, you've put your finger right on it. And like I said, in the old days, we just said, stop writing for writers.
Yeah, stop trying to impress your peers. Stop trying to impress critics. There's so many examples in media history, whether it's movies, video games, comics, what have you, where the critics will laud something, but it does piss poorly because the audience wasn't interested. They're like, this doesn't do it for me. It's like, okay, so you got, you know, you got an Eisner, right? Or you got, you know, a rating of a 10 out of 10 on your project, but nobody bought it.
That's right. Now,
congratulations, you can't afford to make another one.
Well, some of the best stories to recount, and I think both Lou and Pro and probably Jonas can speak to this, was when Lasseter said, no, we're stopping this. We're starting again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Well, they might need to stop some things soon, too, because, you know, Rippaverse has been a great inspiration to us. Here on the Pro Channel, one of the things we've tried to do is not replicate exactly the success that Rippaverse is having, because you all are in the fictional realm, creating the mythos of tomorrow for the young people of today. We've been trying to do this little thing called getting the news out there with a news organization. That Park Place and John Trent, of course, doing a fantastic job. This just came across the desk and just made me aware of this. Daily Wire now picking up the story that we did on the Evil Queen. This is just coming out. Daily Wire says Walt Disney World Resort guest voices concern about suspected male portraying Evil Queen. Amanda Harding is the author here. And you can see Daily Wire using the exact same post that we have. We'll play it one more time.
You are my favorite Evil Queen. Oh my God.
Also my favorite. We have so much.
Now, we'll talk about this some more. We've got some more stuff to say about this situation later in the show today. But,
can you hold it at the very bottom of the article, and I'll show you what's the most important. It's nice that we're getting it retold in all these places. The important part is that a responsible journalist is asking Disney World to comment, and they haven't yet.
Yes, well, that's a great point.
I mean, you know, that's the firestorm, is when the whole journalistic world out there gets wind of this, regardless of what side they might be on. We know that Daily Wire is conservative, but still, the fact that Disney World is getting confronted by the media, not just by one family or several families for all we know, that's big news. That's big news.
The Barbra Streisand effect is in effect greatly again.
Yeah.
They did everything in their power to squelch this on Twitter, flooding with tremendous numbers of comments about, you know, you guys should learn about Shakespeare, or, you know, Tinkerbell's actually a dude, which, by the way, is false. They did everything they could to smash this, and it had the opposite effect. And we knew it would, you know, I could pull up the tweet. Maybe I should here in a little bit, where I said, these crazy groups are sending us tons and tons of views. I feel like we should give them a cheesecake. I was so pleased that they would do this. And now it's made its way out to the mainstream. And again, folks, I'm not here to give you my moral position. Others have. I really haven't. I just think this has been my advocation from the beginning. I think that Disney should be transparent. That's it. Just be transparent. Just say, this is, you know, if the inclusion key means that now you have people that would traditionally be outside of the casting choices in the past, now taking on roles, okay, just say it. That's fine by me.
Are you embarrassed to admit it?
You know what the interesting juxtaposition is? If they're going to put trigger warnings on their classic movies, this was done at a time when people didn't use the right language about X group or Y kind of person. The least they could do is put a sign out in front of Artist Point that says, you may encounter people not of the gender of the character they're playing. If that's a problem for you, we respect it and don't buy the dinner.
Well, and then
they
of
won't
course,
do that.
If they're asked to explain it, they'll say, "Oh well, sometimes because Donald Duck is very short. It's played by a girl." They won't explain what they mean by that, and they'll just hand wave people back into the parks. But you know, this is the kind of thing, as I've said in other places, Disney needs to set themselves up for success if they're wanting to be this magical world that exists outside of our world, or whatever you want to call this theme park. I'm going to put that in quotes here. Then they need to keep the real world out of it. They need to stay out of situations that they know are going to offend guests or that are going to cause parents to wonder what in the world is going on here with my kids and this character.
But Jonas, I'll suggest that at the very heart of it all, Walt understood this because he worked his level best to make sure the outside world stayed outside. So much so that when he moved his idea from California to Florida, he built so much space around what was going to be his entertainment ideas, his barrier to the outside world, his own moat to the outside world, so that he could let everybody have escapism when they were there. That's how substantial and important that is to step away from the outside world and to move into something different.
And in the past,
in that sense, Culture, I think you'd agree with me. This didn't start with the whole sexual thing or any of the political stuff. It started when they started to not give a damn anymore about sightlines.
That's a good point. And showing warehouses that hold rides. Yeah.
Yeah. When they started, I remember being there when they were building or planning to build the Swan and Dolphin, and they had these kind of scaffolding things up there behind Japan and behind France to show how high they were going to be if we built them the way we built them and whether it would show from inside the park or not. They gave a damn. They didn't.
They turned two buildings so that they wouldn't be in the sightline. They turned them.
Now, the difference, though, gentlemen, so, you know, some people might say, well, now, wait a minute. Girls played Peter Pan in the past, and that's true. Yeah. But adults didn't think that adults knew that that was a woman, and it was okay. They needed her to play Peter Pan because Peter Pan is a boy. You can't employ 12-year-old boys, you know, at the parks, but a woman can have the same voice because of puberty. A woman can have the same voice as a little
Martin
boy.
On stage, same thing.
Sandy Duncan, and Andrew.
Today, what we're being asked to do is different. It's categorically different, and some viewers of the channel will hold one position on that. Others will hold another position, and that's okay to differ on that. I'm not.
Well, here's my archaic view on this: that a grown woman playing a prepubescent boy is a different thing than a grown man playing a woman.
Well, it definitely means that a woman isn't playing the role.
Because men and women are different, and women are traditionally caretakers of children. Traditionally, here, I'm not judging.
Well, the voice acting industry, that's something that's super common as well.
Oh, we got that one a few times. Wait till you hear about Bart Simpson. Like, no, this is Nancy Cartwright, an amazing voice actress doing a role. It's very different than someone in heavy makeup.
And a lot of the voice and other things. It's not about liberation or representation. It's a practical economic matter. Having done a lot of shows with children, they can only work limited hours. You've got to have a teacher. There's a guy in Hollywood. I don't know if he's still around, but somebody's doing it. You know what he does for a living on shows? He cries like a baby. So that when everybody's standing there looking into an empty or a doll in it bassinet and going, oh, isn't it cute? This guy's off stage on a mic going, doing a little coochie. That's what he does. That's
career.
His profession.
That's amazing. Okay? And that's why
I am a professional crybaby. Thank you very much.
Exactly right. And that's because him being a grown-up, he's not limited to 4 hours a day and having a nanny and a nurse and a teacher. It's a financial thing. You find somebody who can do it, and they do it.
I just have to point this out. Frank Welker, amazing voice talent, also from The Simpsons, did Bubba on DuckTales, and so many voices. Megatron. He was the highest paid actor in Hollywood one year, not because he got $20 million a year. Samuel L. Jackson ended up giving him a run for his money, but because he was involved in so many different productions. And
Exactly.
his best work, he's like D. Bradley Baker, one of those people who can show up and do like animal noises and things like that. This is, I'm sorry, I'll geek out on voice actors all day.
Oh, well.
Folks, we have come to the end of yet another video of excellence, and you were here making it so. Thank you so much. An attitude of gratitude for every time you share your time with us. We consider it an honor. It's also an honor if you would so consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms. That's the notification bell, by the way. Oh, and comments. We love them because we love you. Drop a comment, share your thoughts before you head on out the door. Folks, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.